like to thank our Almighty God who saved us in this pandemic situation. Then I'm very thankful to our management and our honorable principal ma'am and all the faculty members who are all joining in this program. Then I like to convey my special and sincere thanks to our today's chief guest and our college English department for arranging this program to us. Now I invite the root of our English department, Mrs. R. Rajeshwari, head of the Department of English, to deliver welcome address. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sneha Maria. Good morning, everyone. I am Rajeshwari, Head and Assistant Professor, Department of English, SMS College of Arts and Science, Pallamanayakarbeti. A warm and hearty welcome you all present here. I welcome you all for 5 days faculty development program on the theme of Art of Effective Teaching. The program commences today on 18th May 2021 and it will go on till 22 May 2021. And behalf of the Department of English, I welcome you all to this program. I would like to welcome our Honorable Management for giving a permission to organize this program. And I also welcome our beloved Principal for her continuous support to organize this program. And I welcome our honorable chief guests of this today's session, Dr. Neena Devi ma'am. I welcome you ma'am and I welcome my colleagues and faculty of SMS College and everyone present here. Once again, a warm and hearty welcome to you all present here. Thank you very much. Have a great day and happy learning. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful welcome address. Now I request our young, beautiful, and most charming principal of our institution, Miss Dr. M. Shangreshwari ma'am, to share few words with us. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sneha ma'am. Very good morning. Myself, Dr. Sangreshwari, Principal, SMS College of Arts and Science. Extend a warm and a hearty welcome to you all. In this 5 days faculty development, this program is being organized under the theme of Art of Effective Teaching. This program is being organized by English Department of our college. Dear faculty, it's due to the motivation and inspiration that we people get from our committee members that we are in the position to organize this kind of faculty development program. SMS College of Arts and Science was established in the year of 2015, affiliated by Madurai Kamaraj University, with ISO 9001-2015 certified institution. During this short period, we proud to say this, we are having more than 30 courses, that is 8 professional courses, and more than 60 well-trained faculty members. I want to extend my wholehearted gratitude to our Honorable Correspondent Sir, Mr. Muthuwali, our Chairman Ma'am, Mrs. Muthuchelvi, our Trustee, Ms. Shakti Vinoda, for their blessings and unconditional support, guidance, and giving permission for this faculty development program. I also extend my gratitude towards the English department of our college for extending academic partnership in this program. Dear faculty, life is education and education is life. And in this educational scenario, teachers play a very important role. I think it to invert become imperative in preparing the staff, training the teachers, so that the future of the nation become very secure. Today has completed more than 100 years in the field of education. To develop world-class citizens through quality of education with affordable cost by maintaining the dignity of the teaching in the mission of the society. We, the SMS guys, are proud family members of this education society to help students grow strong with high ethical and to produce wholesome citizens to contribute towards nation building in our mission. Our college is a small unit, but we always say small is beautiful. I am very happy that the day is associating with us. I think is very important will be very much beneficiaries to all the participation. Are there in the pandemic of COVID-19? We are all under stress. We are all having our daily routines. I think the small online program like one we have organized is giving us boost in developing our area of personalities. I'm sure the program will enhance a level of information knowledge of all the participation members are there. To extend my best wishes for this program, I wish this program to be a grand success. Once again, I extend a warm and hearty welcome to you all for this 5 days faculty development program of art of effective teaching. Thank you very much.
From the bottom of my heart, I would like to thank you, ma'am, for your support and your speech. Once again, I thank you, ma'am. Then
Thank you.
I welcome Mrs. R. Rajeshwari, Head of the Department of English, to give some introduction about today's chief guest. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, Snega Marialman. Good morning and a warm welcome to everybody once again. It's my privilege to introduce our chief guest of this program. Respected faculty members, today is the first day of our 5 days faculty development program on art of effective teaching. It gives me an immense pleasure to introduce and welcome our honorable Assistant English of AHSN College, Virudhunagar. He is MA, MPhil and PhD. Man is having 18 years of teaching experience and she has guided more than 10 MPhil projects and 10 MA projects. She has presented 47 papers in various topics and also she published 44 research articles in various research journals and magazines, etc. And she attended more than 54 seminar, conference and workshop of different subjects. She has delivered 6 lecture in different types of areas. I welcome again Dr. Veena Devi ma'am for today's session and thank you very much ma'am. We are happy, madam, to have you as our resource person today for this 5 days faculty program. I like to thank our management principal for giving us the permission and support to conduct this activity. Thank you very much, ma'am. Stay home and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful, informative introduction about today's chief guest. Now, I like to hand over this session to Dr. Yam Meena Devi, Assistant Professor, PHNS College, Vidnagar. Ma'am, now the stage is yours.
Thank you. And thank you, Rajeshwari, Professor Rajeshwari, the convener of this program, and Professor Vijay Kumar, the organizing secretary of this faculty development program, and the principal of the esteemed institution, SMS College of Arts and Science, Kalamanayakapatti, near Sivakasi. And thank you to all the board members for their support in organizing this effective 5 day faculty development program on the art of effective teaching. And thank you once again to the college and for inviting me to deliver this session on interactive teaching and learning. Thank you once again. And first of all, I'd like to extend my apologies to the college because of the technical difficulty in joining the program. And also I am very happy to see the overwhelming response from the audience because it's more than 100, and I hope that the college will arrange for the other members who are waiting in line to join this program by creating another link, Google Meet link, and they'll do something I hope soon. And so today's session is on interactive teaching and learning, and I'd like to know whether the screen is visible to you or not. I want the response from the audience.
Yes, ma'am, the
Yes,
screen is
yes,
visible.
ma'am.
Yeah,
The
thank you
screen
so
is
much.
visible.
Okay,
Ma'am, kindly make the presentation a full screen. That would be better, I suppose. It's
okay,
visible
okay.
only.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you for that suggestion. Is it okay now?
Ma'am, it would be ideal that if you can present it in a presentation mode, screen sharing mode would be ideal.
Yeah,
Um,
I shared the screen and now it is in full screen. Want to see that? Hello?
Hello. Yes, ma'am. It's visible, but it's not visible for on the computer as full screen mode. It is showing an um,
Actually,
different
there
images
are
also.
two screens for me. One is Dr. Meena Devi and another one is merely Meena Devi. And just look at the two screens and pin the correct screen
Okay, then. Thank you, ma'am.
because it's in the full screen only, the presentation now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I hope others can see the screen. Can I have the response from the audience?
Yes, ma'am, we can see the
Yes,
screen.
ma'am.
Is it in full screen?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. Okay, so uh, the whole program is based on the topic the art of effective speaking, and my session, the first session, is based on the topic interactive teaching and learning. And you might have all heard about this term interactive teaching and learning. And I hope that at least some of you or many of you uh, might have used this technique in your classroom. And I'm not going to teach you anything new because as you are all teachers and you are all well versed in the art of teaching, yet this session is going to be a sort of motivation to everyone. Okay, so before entering, whether the participants are from the same college or from other college also, just I want to know because in which language I should continue, it's a big doubt for me. Shall I continue in bilingual? Is it okay for you? Mostly I'll go for English, and sometimes if there is some difficulty, then I go for Tamil.
Participants are
Okay,
from
ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, in between, if there is any clarification, then you can ask in Tamil, then I will wait immediately. Okay, so now the objective of this session, this 1.5 hours or 2 hour session, is to identify the different learning styles of the students because the students are the main source or the main pillars of education because they are the beneficiaries of education. Okay, the teachers are just the facilitators. So the objective of this session is to identify different learning styles and to explore how these interactive teaching or the interactive strategies or technologies uh, or these interactive teaching strategies support is going to be of support to all the learners or the student participants and to share some of the practical ideas, not the far-fetched ideas related to the interactive strategies I'm going to give in this session, but I'm going to share only the practical ideas for whole class teaching. And my voice is audible or not? Some of the participants are giving the chat box that the voice is not audible. Is it clear?
audible, ma'am.
Okay. So these are the three objectives, okay, to identify the different learning styles of the students and to explore how interactive teaching strategies is going to support all the learners and to share some of the practical ideas for the whole class teaching in our regular day-to-day classroom activities. Okay, so these are some of the techniques we are going to discuss in this session. And before going into the session in a full-length way, I just want to narrate a small story for you, just a small story, which is related to teaching. Okay. Shall I switch over to Tamil for this story so that it will be effective, I think, only this small story. Okay, there is a, or otherwise I'll manage in bilingual. Okay, so there is a small monk, a Buddhist monk who is a teacher who has a lot of disciples in his temple. There is a small Buddhist temple which is converted into a school. ஓகே ஸோ அந்த புத்திஸ்ட் மாங்க் வந்து என்ன பண்ணாருன்னா ஒரு நாள் அவரோட அவரோட அந்த குருகுலம் சொல்லுவோம் இல்லையா இந்த பாஸ்ட் இந்த ஏன்ஷியன் டைம்ஸ் இட்ஸ் கால் குருகுலா த institution is called Gurukula, okay, where the students used to go and study under the custody of the, they will stay there and study, they will have it. So, அந்த குருகுலத்தில் ஒரு நாள் என்ன ஆயிடுச்சுன்னா ஆக்சுவலி த குரு இஸ் நோன் ஃபார் ஹிஸ் எஃபிஷியன்சி இன் டீச்சிங் ஆல் த டஃப் டாபிக்ஸ் டு த ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் அண்ட் த ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் who go there, they are well versed in everything in this world. Okay, such a great and efficient teacher he is. அப்போ அந்த டைமில் sorry, only speak in English. Okay, I'll try because I thought that some of the teachers from Tamil Nadu they will understand it clearly. Okay, I'll try only in English. So one day, what happened in that famous Gurukula is that one of the students, he stole something from a fellow student, and at that time, okay, Madhavi, Lata, and other participants, I'll do everything in English in a second. Thank you. So one of the students, he happened to somehow or other, he stole some small thing from a fellow student, and the other students have found out who the thief is, and they all went to the teacher, the monk, and they told that he is the culprit. The one they pointed out the culprit, and they told that. Immediately they have to send the student, that thief, the culprit, to out of the institution. So at that time, the monk, he just listened to all the complaints of the other students, but he just kept quiet and he didn't answer at all. And the other students, they left the room of the monk. Then after some time, they expected some response from the monk, the teacher, but the teacher didn't do anything at all. He just kept quiet. And then the teacher kept quiet. And after some days, after a few days, some 4 or 5 days, the same student who stole in the past, he again stole something from some other student, his fellow students. And again, this time, the other students, they are not able to tolerate this kind of crime in their campus. And so they went again to the monk, the teacher, and they told that this is incorrigible and they can't tolerate it anymore. So they all complained to the teacher that hereafter, if the teacher is not going to take any punishment, or is not going to give any punishment, or they even go to the extent of saying that they have to send that student out of the campus. Otherwise, they will all leave the campus and they will join in some other teachers. They'll join with some other teacher. They will go to some other school. They told like that. At that time also, the teacher, he kept quiet. And the other students, they can't imagine why this particular teacher, who is known for his efficiency and who is known for his discipline, why he is why he is in this silent mode. They are not able to understand. And they just asked him again and again. They inquired why you are not doing anything against this student. If you are not going to take any steps against this student, then we are just going to leave this campus. They are told. And at that time, the teacher told the other students, actually, that particular student, the culprit, he is also among the crowd. And at that time, the teacher told the students, to all the students, that, dear students, you are all very good students. I know that. I am so confident of your goodness. But you are all good and you know what is right and wrong. But that particular student, okay, that the so-called culprit, he does not know what is right and what is wrong. So if you all of you leave this campus only because of this student, then I don't worry about it. Okay, the teacher told that if all of you leave this campus except this student, then I don't worry at all, because you know what is right, what is wrong. And if you go to some other school, if you ask some other teacher to have you in that school, then that teacher would allow you to get into that institution. But what about this student? Because he is such a soul that he does not know what is right and what is wrong. So that he is doing this thing. Okay, though it is a small theft, it's a wrong done by that student. I know that it's wrong. Definitely, I don't endorse that theft of that student. But the thing is that this student does not know what is right and what is wrong, so that he is stealing from other students. So if I leave this student for your sake, then no one will take him in some other schools. So it's my duty as a teacher to rectify this wrongdoer. I have to teach the student what is right and what is wrong. So that is my duty. So I can't send this student out of this school. If you want to leave, then you can leave. That's that teacher told. And at that time only, other students understood the, the mind of the teacher. Okay, so it's the duty of the teacher and that particular student, okay, that thief, he understood the impact of the words of the teachers. Okay, he just understood, he just realized that this teacher is the real teacher, and at that time he took that determination in him that hereafter he is not going to steal at all. He is not going to steal anything, or he is not going to do any wrong. Okay, because he has become the student of such a great and inspirational and excellent teacher like this teacher. Okay, so that is from this story we have to understand that teaching is not merely a sharing of knowledge or just transferring of knowledge to the students. Okay, it's just to shape the students into a good citizen, not only a good citizen but a good human being. That is the more important thing. That is the most important thing. That is the most important duty of the teacher, I hope. Okay, so I hope that you all like this story, and the thing that you want, that you have to take, the takeaway from this story, you all understood, I think. So apart from all these ethical responsibilities of the teachers, as a teacher in the real lifetime classroom, in the real life, in the real classroom, we have to do something, okay? Because transferring knowledge is also important. Okay, the students come here for knowledge also. So, and actually this session is about interactive teaching and learning. So I want the participants also to interact with me now and then. Okay, if you want to share anything in between, then you can uh, comment on the chat box. You can make use of the chat box. And so now we move into the session. What is interactive first? We have to know. Okay, so what do you mean by interactive? Can any one of you? What do you mean by interactive teaching? Are you following this in your classroom?
Getting the opinion, ma'am. For example,
Getting
Good
the
morning, ma'am.
yeah, getting the opinion of the students about
yes,
what?
ma'am. For example, suppose if we conduct a group discussion and all, will about social media and all, we'll ask them whether it's merits or demerits, what their idea, and merits means what all
Okay,
point they are saying. Yes, ma'am.
about the particular topic that we
Yes,
are
ma'am.
teaching. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Okay, any other response? So asking the opinion of the students. That's right. Really good. Any other idea? What's interactive teaching? Just
Giving
interactive.
cues,
Yes,
Interactive.
giving
excuse me,
cu-
ma'am.
Yeah.
I'm Dr. Kala, and that is the
Yeah. One by
students
one.
can be not the passive listeners. They should be the active listeners
Okay.
in the interactive session.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So communication is more important. The students should not keep passive. They should not be passive in the classroom. So in order to make the students active, the interaction should be there. Okay. Then Professor Bipin, you want to say something?
giving cues and clues and eliciting responses. That is, I think,
Okay,
it is
giving
also important
clues about what? Clues about what?
about about the topic which we are discussing,
Okay, the
um,
particular topic which we are
and
intending. Okay, okay.
and
Thank you.
coming to conclusions based on it.
Okay, okay, thank you so much. So asking the response of the students, and students should feel close with the teachers and with the subject. Okay. So we now will proceed to what is interactive. So it's a collaborative in the sense it's a joint effort from the teachers side, between the teachers and the students. Okay, it's not a one-way communication. So most of the time in our classroom, it's mostly what's going on is that it's just a one-way communication from the teacher to the students. And as told by some of the staff during the discussion, the students are most of the time passive. So, and in that situation, interactive teaching will not happen, and interactive learning also will not happen. So, only through interactive teaching, both the teachers and the students will be active. Okay, the teachers have to be active because they have to at least speak to the students, but the students mostly they are in a passive mode. Okay, so in order to awake the students from their daydreaming or something else in the classroom, and or in order to make the students understand the topic more effectively or more clearly, then there should be some interaction in the classroom. So it's a collaborative effect. So collaboration, we all know the meaning. So it's a joint effort between the teacher and the student. So interactive teaching is something that is about the collaborative exchange of thoughts or feelings or ideas between two or more people, resulting in a reciprocal effect on each other. So it just, the interactive teaching, it just gives satisfaction to both, that is the teacher as well as the students. Okay, only if the classroom is interactive, if there is some interactive teaching, then only the reciprocal effect in the sense, a mutual effect. Okay, both to both the teacher, he will get the satisfaction that I have conveyed something effectively to the students, and the students will also have the same effect that they did learn something from the teachers. So it's a collaborative exchange of thoughts or feelings or ideas between the teacher and the students in a reciprocal way. So this is called interactive, and some of the strategies that we are going to discuss under this topic, interactive. Okay. So first of all, you have to know what is a strategy. Okay, a strategy is a careful plan or a method or a technique, we can say. Okay, so what are the interactive strategies that we can follow? We will discuss. Then first, before that, we have to know the learning styles of the students. Okay, so I have just pointed out three styles of the learning styles of the students. And the first type of students are called the visual learners. The visual learners, they just remember the images, shapes, and colors far better than the other mode of learning. Okay, and the second type of learners are called auditory learners. Auditory, we all know the meaning. So they remember the students, those type of students, they remember the voices, sounds, and music better than the other learning modes. And the third type of students are called kinesthetic students. Kinesthetics in the sense, they just want to do something, everything they want to do is practical. So they remember by doing, moving, or touching. So in that practical kind of teaching, learning is better for them than looking at the images or hearing the voices from the teachers. They want to do something. Okay, they want to demonstrate everything, the students. So usually, generally, the students, the learning styles can be divided into these categories: visual learners and auditory learners and kinesthetic learners. So we have in a classroom, in our classroom, we can find all these three types of students. Okay, our classroom is not filled with any one type of students, not only visual learners or only auditory learners or only kinesthetic learners, because I am talking about our normal classroom. Okay, not like some special schools and all, because it's something different. Okay, I am talking about the normal day-to-day classroom, our classroom, school or colleges. So our classroom is filled with all three types of students from all these three learning styles. Visual students are also there, auditory learners are there, and kinesthetic students are there. And we have to manage all these three types of students, and we have to make them understand whatever we are trying to communicate. Okay. So we have to keep in mind before entering into a classroom, we have to satisfy the needs of all these three students. So sometimes you have to go for some visual images, and sometimes you have to do everything through audio or by lecturing, and sometimes we have to do something practical in the classroom itself. Apart from going to the practical classes and all, we have to give some practical exercises to the students inside the classroom. So this will be more effective. Okay, and next, first of all, our normal way of teaching is based on lecturing. Okay, so before going into the lecturing type, I want to just know about What's your opinion about this lecturing mode? Is it effective or not? Yeah, I want the response from the audience. What do you mean by lecturing, or what's your opinion about lecturing, or whether lecturing is effective or not? I just want your, yeah.
It is effective for those who are capable of understanding it. For slow learners, lecturing will not be that much effective. But for
Okay.
effective learners, lecturing will be somewhat effective now.
Effective learners, what do you mean by effective learners?
Those who can accept the concepts very quickly or who can grasp the content within a short span of time.
Okay, who are able to grasp it fast. Okay, the fast learners we can say. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much. That's right. Okay, then how far is it effective? I'm asking because most of us are tend to use only this lecturing mode in our classroom. No? We are all the fans of lecturing mode, including myself. Okay? So, what's your opinion? Whether you are traveling in the right path or not, or what are the difficulties that you are facing in the lecturing mode, or what are the benefits that you are facing? Of course, in one way, it's going to be of benefit to the fast learners. Okay, then
The difficulties that we face is that like we could not estimate whether they are listening to us or not.
there
Uh,
is no methodology in the lecturing mode that the teacher cannot come to the conclusion that the students are listening or not. Only few are interested in listening because online teaching. Somebody has given in the chat box. I didn't read it fully. Okay, so only few are listening. Okay, most of us are not good listeners at all. So the lecturing mode is only for the listeners, the auditory learners. They can learn a lot. But what about the visual learners and the kinesthetic learners? Okay, okay, that's a good point, valid point. And any other views? That's all. It will be useful for the fast learners and
The
auditory
duration
learners.
for effect this
Yeah,
method will be 10 to 15. It will be more effective.
yeah,
If
okay.
it cross more than 1 hour or more than half an hour, it will be not more effective, ma'am.
Okay, that's a good point. Okay, so scientifically, only maximum some 20 minutes only the students can be receptive and they can listen, and then they need to have some sort of relaxation or some break, and then only their mind will be ready to receive it will be ready to listen more. Okay, oh, that's a valid point. Really good. So these are some of the defects of lecturing, but in spite of all these things, we go for lecturing because lecturing has one important merit in it. Okay, because it's more useful in delivering the concepts theoretically because within a short span of time, we can deliver a lot of information to the students. Okay, if you go for the interactive teaching or some practical teaching, the kinesthetic learners and visual learners, if you go for those things, then it will take a lot of time to deliver the message. Okay, because it takes some time of its own for the practicals or some other discussions in the classroom. So only in the lecturing method, within a short span of time, the teacher can convey a lot of information to the students. Okay, but whether it reaches the students 100% or not, there is no guarantee. But there is a possibility from the teachers because only in the last moment of the teaching or at the end of the semester or when the exams are nearing, most of the teachers they will go for lecturing method because at that time it will be more effective. It is less time consuming and they want to complete the portions, and at that time if they go for some practical or interactive or some what is that interactive teaching, then it will take a lot of time and they are not able to finish the portions. So only at that time lecturing is more effective. It's a boon to the teachers because only through lecturing they will cover all the portions within some 1 or 2 hours. They will pass away all the informations to the students and they are satisfied that at least I have given something to the students. I have shared all the information to the students. Okay, so lecturing is not an effective method. We can't say that. We can't say that. But lecturing is an effective method. But interactive teaching is far more effective than lecturing. Okay, so we cannot degrade lecturing at all because it's effective. but which is more effective when we come to that discussion only, the interactive teaching is coming. Okay, so while lecturing, we have to keep some points in our mind because we cannot avoid lecturing at all because it is one of the methods. It is one of the effective methods in teaching. So we can go for lecturing, but while lecturing, during the time of lecturing to the students or in the classroom, we have to keep some points in our mind. And first thing, as already you all know, that the learners are very passive in the lecture class. Okay, only the teacher is gone, keep on talking and talking, and the teachers will just be silent spectators. They are very passive, and the teacher will not be able to come to the conclusion that whether the students are listening or not. Just he is doing the duty, and the students are very passive. So we have to make the students active. So that we have to keep in mind. And lecturing mode does not guarantee any understanding on the part of the students because the teacher he does understand everything, all the points, so that he is conveying the same points to the students. But whether the students understood the points clearly or not, there is no guarantee at all in the lecturing mode. And if we keep on lecturing for a long time, then we don't understand the students' mindset and we don't get any feedback from the students. So whether that mode is effective or not, we can't be sure. So while lecturing, we have to keep these things. The students are passive, the learners are passive, and we don't understand the students' understanding. And so we have to make the lecturing mode somewhat interactive. So interactive strategy is not something away from lecturing mode. So interactive strategy can be applied even in the lecturing mode, and that most of the teachers, I think, we do that. Okay, that is by asking sometimes questions to the students. Okay, that is one of the basic method, interactive strategy, I can say. We all know, knowingly or unknowingly, we all follow this technique, this interactive strategy, that is questioning to the students. Okay, so during lecturing, we can do only this technique. Okay, so we have to make our lecturing more interactive by involving the group, by frequently stopping in between, and then we can ask the students to some questions so that if they give the answer, then we can understand, we can analyze the level of understanding of students, in what way or how far they have understood, whether they have understood it in a right way or a wrong way. So what else we have to say, what more we have to convey to the students. So that analysis will happen only in between. We have to stop the students frequently and we have to ask some questions. Okay, so this is one of the common interactive strategy that is almost followed by all the teachers, but sometimes there will be no response from the students at all. But we have to keep on asking. There is no other go, and a lecturing should comprise of this. Okay, 30 and 70%, 30 and 70% ratio, because the lecturer should strive for a 30% lecture and 70% active discussion with the students, so that the lecturing mode will be very effective. Okay, so we have to combine the interactive strategy of questioning with the lecturing mode, so to enable the lecturing mode in a effective way. Then we will go for interactive teaching, and what are the important points that we have to remember while we become an interactive teacher. So in interactive teaching, a teacher will become a facilitator. Okay, he is not just teacher. A teacher is a multifaceted personality, we can say. Okay, if I ask the question, who is a teacher, then most of you will give the answer that we have to share the information to the students. Okay, what is education? Then a sharing of knowledge, a transferring of knowledge, like that we'll say. So while transferring the knowledge to the students, or while sharing the knowledge or thoughts to the students, the teacher should become a facilitator. A facilitator in the sense, he has to guide the students, he has to mentor the students, he has to help the students. Okay, help in the real sense, we can say facilitate means helping the students to understand the concept clearly in a better way. So the teacher should become a facilitator. Okay. Then the second thing, the second benefit of interactive teaching is that it will encourage the learners and expect the learners to participate, because we all know that in our traditional classroom, in our lecturing mode, the students are mostly passive. So only through interaction we can make, or we can encourage the students, the slow learners, the so-called slow learners, and the poor students, who are unable to understand the concepts easily, we should encourage the students. So encouragement is also a part of interactive teaching, and we can expect the learners to participate in the discussion. Okay, the teacher is not giving a monologue to the students. It should be at least a dialogue between the two, the teacher and the student. So it will encourage and expect the learners to participate, and the interactive teaching involves questions to stimulate the mind of the students, to activate the mind of the students. And it involves a sort of discussions, and it emphasizes the value of answers. Sometimes, in a humorous way, we used to say that most of the teachers, in some patimandrams or in some group discussions, some of the people, they used to comment on the teacher's mentality in the classroom. The teachers, they will go on talking and talking, they will go on lecturing and lecturing, they will go on asking questions after questions to the students, but they won't allow the students to open their mouth at all. If any student raise his hand and ask some question, then the teacher will say, you can ask your doubts afterwards, don't disturb the classroom. So this is the comment passed by the public about the teachers. But the teachers are not like that. Okay, mostly the teachers, they expect the students to participate actively in the classroom. So the teachers should emphasize the value of answers or even the questions from the students. So that's where effective teaching will happen. So the teachers should keep their mind in an open way, so that he can grasp, or he can receive the questions from the students, and he can receive the answers from the students. So first of all, the teacher should be a passive listener, okay, to listen to the questions or the answers from the students. And interactive teaching also involves a hands-on experience to the participants. Participants in the sense, the learners or the students. So a hands-on experience, a real lifelike experience, giving the lifelike real experience to the students is also a part of interactive teaching. So these are some of the benefits of interactive teaching. And now we'll see what are the pros and cons of effective lecturing and interactive teaching. First, we will see the pros of lecturing and interactive teaching. And lecturing is also efficient, because why I'm insisting this point again and again, lecturing is also a good method, because most of the teachers themselves, they just ignore this method at all. Okay, lecturing is not at all effective. Why they are just giving lecture? It's boring like that. No, it's not like that, because in the past it's happening. The knowledge sharing is happening through lecturing only. Now only all the technologies have come across in our life. Okay, before these technologies or even the print media, education was there in the ancient times also. And at that time, the teachers, they just go for lecturing method only. Okay, and some of the practical experiences that they have shared, but not with these technologies. Now we have technologies as an added advantage. Okay, so lecturing is efficient in conveying information. That is one positive point about lecturing. And interactive teaching is more effective. Okay, that's all. So lecturing is effective and interactive teaching is more effective. And in lecturing, a transferring of factual knowledge, a demonstration of conceptual framework, the theoretical passing out of knowledge is possible in lecturing. And in interactive teaching, through practical experiences, that is doing or making or sensing, or through receiving the feedback from the students, and through teaching and assessing the students, and the lecturing is happening, the teaching is happening in a more effective way. So these are some of the pros of lecturing and interactive teaching. And some of the cons of interactive teachings are, even in lecturing, it is less effective compared to the interactive teaching. And one important negative point about interactive teaching is time. Okay, it will take some time. We can't do it in a rush to make the students. Through interaction, we can't rush up the students to understand quickly, or to respond quickly, or to give answer quickly. We can't expect it, because interactive teaching will not happen in a day, or it will not happen within a short span of time. It will take its own time. So time consuming. That is one negative point about interactive teaching. But we can give the time, I hope. Okay. So why interactive techniques? And in what way it's going to be of some help to the students? It's going to, the use of interactive strategies in our classroom, it's going to revive the students from their passivity, because we all know that the students are passive. So we have to, it's a duty of the teacher through interaction to revive the students from their passivity of merely listening to the lecture, and instead the students will become more attentive and more engaged if we apply some interactive strategies in our classroom, because these two are the prerequisites for any effective learning. What are they? One is attention, and the second one active engagement or involvement of the students. Okay, these two are the two prerequisites for effective learning. And some of the interactive strategies are not only comprised of using technology. I'm not going to talk about any technology in this session, because the remaining 4 days, the other staff, the resource persons are going to teach you how to use the technologies in an effective way. And now I'm going to talk about some practical interactive strategies that we can follow in our regular classroom without any much technology or aid. Okay, so sometimes these interactive strategies are looked as or perceived as fun by the teachers, because if we do some interactive strategies, apply some interactive strategy in our classroom, it will make some noise in the classroom. Okay, so the teacher has to maintain that classroom management. We should be able to manage the classroom while we are doing interactive classroom. But in spite of all those things, some of the teachers, the fellow colleagues may look at you, the interactive teacher, as making fun in the classroom, or without maintaining discipline in the classroom. They will look at you in that way, but you need not worry about that, because though the interactive strategies are perceived as fun, silly, or it's trivial, but it's not like that, because it's going to be of much helpful to the participatory learning of the students. It's going to help you for the effective learning of the students. So we should not look at the interactive strategies as fun, because they are frequently more effective than lectures, because we can look at the effect of this interactive teaching even in our classroom from the response of the students, because it's more effective than lectures by enabling the students learning. So we have to incorporate the interactivity in our classroom. But before going into the interactive strategies, before applying the interactive strategies in our classrooms, we have to keep some points in our mind. We have to remember something. First of all, the first thing that an interactive teacher has to keep in mind is that he has to consider the learner's wants and needs. So what is the topic that we are going to teach in the classroom? Okay, and what is the need of the students? What do the students want from you? And the number of participants in the classroom. Okay, the number of students in the classroom, the size of the classroom, and the space in the classroom, the layout of the classroom. All these things come under this interactive strategy. Okay, while you are planning to apply some interactive strategy in the classroom, then you have to keep the number of participants, the size of the classroom, the space of the classroom, and the students' wants and needs. Okay, and the second thing you have to keep in mind is that you have to ask yourself these 4 questions before going into the classroom. So the first thing is that what am I trying to teach these people? What is the topic that I'm going to cover, or what is the point, or what is the area that I'm going to cover in this classroom? Okay, what is the point or the theme, or what we can say, the syllabus or portion, whatever. Okay, first we have to be clear with that. And the second question is, do I want them to share ideas and learn from each other? So now, what are you going to do in this classroom? Interactive strategies is going to be applied in the classroom in a multiple way. First of all, you have to be clear, okay, through this interactive strategy, some interactive strategy, what are you going to do in the classroom? What is your expectation from the students? You have to be clear. First, do you want to share ideas and learn from each other? Okay, so then you have to go for one interactive strategy. Or do you want to internalize something? You do want the students to internalize something on their own? Then you have to give some individual interactive strategies, because interactive strategy will be of more help to one-on-one we can say. Okay, that is, if you want the students to learn the points on their own without discussing to the students, then you have to apply one interactive strategy. Or if you want to share ideas to the students and get a response from the students, you have to apply another interactive strategy. Or do you want to test their knowledge, then you have to apply some other interactive strategy. So what is your aim or objective while going into the classroom? Okay, what is the topic that you are going to cover, and what is the number of the students in the classroom, the size of the classroom, it is the space in the classroom, and what is your intention while teaching a particular topic to the students. It's just a knowledge sharing or response from the students, or you want the topic to be imbibed by the students on their own, or you want to test the knowledge of the students. Okay, these are the things that you have to keep in mind while incorporating some interaction, some interactive strategies in the classroom. So I'm just now going to discuss some of the main area of this session, some of the interactive strategies, and I hope that I'm going to point out some of the interactive strategies that even I apply in our classroom and you might have applied in your classroom, or if not, then you can apply in the classroom. Okay, so the first strategy, as I have already pointed out, this is a questioning strategy. Okay, so this, I hope that most of us are doing this in our classroom. So without knowing that, without conscious of the fact that this is an interactive strategy, okay, we cannot neglect questioning strategy at all, because this is a frequently used technique in our classroom by all of us, including myself. Okay, so what is the benefit of this questioning strategy? First thing, it gives an opportunity for the students to express themselves. If you don't ask any questions at all, if you keep on lecturing in your classroom, if you keep on transferring the knowledge to the students, whether the transfer will take place or not, is it any, is there any guarantee for you through lecturing to pass on all the knowledge to the students? No, no way. So only through questioning, frequently we have to stop in between our lecturing, and wherever you want clarification from the students, or wherever you want to check whether the students are on line with you, then you have to ask questions, and you have to give the opportunity to the students to express themselves freely. Okay, so that is an important one in a questioning strategy. And second one, only through questioning you can initiate a chain reaction of student interaction among themselves. Sometimes we might have come across this experience in our classroom. Even I experienced this in my classroom. Sometimes if I am in a hurry to complete some portion, then I keep on talking and talking. That is knowing that I am not effective in my classroom, because I'm just giving a lot of information to the students without asking any response from the students, because I'm in a hurry. I have to complete the portion. So at that time, if at any point of time, if I suddenly just stop, no, I should not do like this. I have to ask something, whether the students are with me or not. I have to check that. Then I'll just ask one small question to the student. And if one student answer that question, then the other students, they will be in a sleepy mode, or they will be in a somewhat daydreaming mode. Then they will just immediately wake up, and they will involve in the discussion. And at least if the first student who is responding, who is giving the answer, is wrong, then the other students will be more brisk. Okay, they'll just comment on that, and then even that simple question from me, that simple answer from that one, the response from one student, it just initiates a chain of reaction from all the students, and the whole classroom will be a lively one. Okay, so and then we can continue our lecturing. We can pass on other informations to the students. So just we cannot neglect a simple question like that. Even a simple question, it will initiate a chain of reaction from all the students. Okay, and they will start discussing among themselves, and we have to control them, and we have to take them again with us. Okay, then the third thing that is essential in this questioning strategy is, most of the teachers are fond of asking many questions, but they are not a listener at all. Okay, so the passivity is on the students. They are not responding most of the time. But what I suggest is that the passivity is required in the teachers sometimes. Okay, the teacher may not always be very active. Okay, keep on opening his mouth and saying something in the classroom. Sometimes the teacher has to keep silence. Okay, he has to keep quiet. He has to listen. He has to listen passively to what the students are responding to him through their body language, or through what they are trying to communicate. Okay, so the teacher has to listen what they say, what the students say, to find out what they think. Only if we allow the students to talk in our classroom, we can understand the mindset of the students, whether we can understand the understanding level of the students, whether they can understand or not, in what way they are lagging or in what way we are lagging in our interaction. Then we can change to some other interaction. Okay, so questioning is an effective strategy, and so no need to bother about questioning. Okay, most of the teachers, they will sometimes think that if I keep on asking questions, then the students will be bored. The students will be afraid why this teacher is asking so many questions. Okay, sometimes the students used to say, "Ma'am, questioning is very easy, ma'am. You ask so many questions, but giving answer is very difficult." Even in my classroom, the students used to say like that. But sometimes, if I ask the students, "Okay, then you can ask some question to me," then they'll keep silent. Okay, at that time, I will insist on the students that, okay, you just ask questions after question. I'll become a student now. You just ask questions. Then the students, they struggle a lot to ask questions. And then they'll just realize that they will even say to me that, "Ma'am, really it's tough, ma'am. Asking questions is very tough." Even for giving answers, we can say, "Sorry, I don't have any answer." "No, ma'am, I don't know, ma'am." We can say. But questioning is very tough, ma'am. My students used to say. Okay, so questioning is not an easy thing. So the teachers are well versed in questioning, and it's an effective interactive strategy. So you can continue using this strategy in your classroom whenever necessary. And the another technique that we can use in our classroom is this is just another simple one. Mostly our students will sit silently in their places, and we expect the students to be intact with their seats. Okay, if they just move their heads here and there, then we'll be irritated. And if they look at some other student, we'll be irritated. Okay, because we expect our students to keep to be in their seats throughout our lecturing, throughout our classroom, without even but that is we sometimes we will have the doubt that whether they are listening or not. Okay, they just sit like this and keep on looking at us, staring at us, we can say. Okay, so if they are in that way, then really they'll become passive listeners. Because of course we all know that only up to 15 or 20 minutes they can listen. Okay, so we have to break in between, okay, our lecture, and we have to do something else. So first thing, we can ask questions to interrupt the passivity of the students. And the second thing is this total physical response. That is, we can ask some questions. It may not be an open-ended questions. Okay, so questions are of two types. One is open-ended question. That is, what is your name? If we ask this question, the students cannot say yes or no questions. Okay, yes or no answers, because we all know there are two types of questions. As This is a basic grammar in English. Okay, so one is yes or no question. That is closed-ended question, we can say, or we can ask the questions like, "Do you like this session or not?" Then the students will give the answer yes or no only. So this is a closed-ended questions. There is no scope for the students to answer further. But if you ask some other questions, what is your view about this topic? Then they cannot simply say yes or no. So this type of question is called open-ended question. So sometimes mostly the teachers are asking open-ended questions to the students regarding the topic that they are discussing in the classroom. But sometimes we can ask simple questions. Okay, some yes or no questions, some true or false questions. It's not silly at all to ask such simple questions in the classroom, because through this simple true or false question, we can make the students active instead of passive listening. Okay, so we can ask the students either stand or sit, because they are just sitting and listening to you for a long time. Okay, more than 20 minutes, they are just sitting and listening passively. So sometimes in between, you can ask a question which is based on true or false statement. Then you can ask the students, okay, those who know the answer, those who want to say true, then you can stand up. Or those who want to say false, you can stand up. You can say like that. Then at least some sort of awakening is taking place in the classroom. Okay. Then the students who want to say true, they will stand up, and the others will sit. Okay. So likewise, we can change this option, true or false, or yes or no questions, or we can ask for some answers for the questions, and those who want to say yes to the answer, they can stand up, and the others can sit. like that, if we give this simple, if we use this simple technique in our classroom, then the students at least they will come out of their passivity. They are doing some physical activity. So this is called total physical response. They can't just, yes ma'am, no ma'am. Do you understand? Yes ma'am. Do you understand? No ma'am. No, they won't say like that. Okay. Most of the students they used to say yes ma'am, because if they say no, then the teacher will talk a lot more. So the students will say whether they understood or not, they'll say yes ma'am. So we should not give scope for the students to sit and silently and give yes ma'am, yes ma'am, yes ma'am. Okay, so we have to ask the students stand. If you want to say true, then stand. If no student stands, then you can say, so those who are saying false, stand. Then there is no other go, all the students has to stand. Okay, so likewise we have to give some physical activity students to a student. So this is called a total response strategy. Okay, the students are either stand or sit to indicate their binary answers, the true answers, such as true or false, according to the instruction of the teachers. Okay. And another one is YouTube. Actually, this is just incorporating technology, but this is not possible in our classroom because in most of the colleges, mobile phones are strictly prohibited. Okay. The students are not supposed to use the mobile phone, but YouTube is one of the important medium that can be used by the teachers, because nowadays the students are of the habit of playing more games in the YouTubes and all. And some of our students are having a YouTube channel of their own. And if any such student is having a YouTube channel, or if there is no student having YouTube channel, then you can ask your students, okay, as a group, as a whole, as a classroom, or any one student, if he is interested, you can ask him to start a YouTube channel. Okay, not only for passing time, they are just, most of the students are in the YouTube. They're just whiling away their time for a long time, spending their time in YouTubes and all, looking at others' videos. So instead of spending all the time to watching other videos, the students can, okay, the teacher can give a particular assignment to the students, and the students can uh, after completing the assignment, they can read out their presentation, or they can enact their presentation, or they can do something. Okay, is it just a presentation, or is it just a speech, or just they are going to read out from what from their assignment or anything? Just ask them to take a video, because most of them are having now the Android phones. Okay, because they have to attend the classes through online because of this pandemic period. Okay, so almost all of them are having Android phones, and they can take a video of their own. So the students won't say no, because they are not in that condition that they are not able to take a video of their own, because they are involved in TikToks and everything. Okay, or even selfies. They are much interested in taking of their own photos and videos. So you can give the assignment. The teachers can give the assignment, their projects or presentations or speeches. You can ask them to take a video of their presentations, okay, of their projects or their PowerPoints, even the PowerPoint presentations. They can present through PowerPoint, but they have to take a video of their own, and they have to upload it in their YouTube channel. Okay, so at least then the teacher can ask the other students to watch the YouTube channel. Then they can go for that, and they can watch the presentations. So if the classroom scenario is not possible in this pandemic, then we can go for uploading their presentations or assignments or speeches in the YouTube. And this is the YouTube is going to be another interactive strategy. Okay, so this is possible, I think, in this current scenario. Then the next one is picture prompt, and this is something silly. It will look silly to all, because sometimes in the schools, the teachers are following this. Okay, they will show some picture about, they'll show some picture, and they'll ask the students, what is this? So it may not be so simple in the college scenario, because we can prepare, or we can download some picture related to the topic that we are going to cover in the classroom. Okay, and we can show the picture to the students and ask the students what is their view about this picture, or what do they know about this picture, or what do they look at this picture. Okay, you can show the students an image with no explanation at all, with no headings or points, no words, just the image. You can download from the um, center, and we can ask them to identify the image or explain the image, what's their view about the image, or we can ask the students to write about it. Okay, we can ask orally to the students, or sometimes we can give individual assignments to the students. Just show the picture to the classroom and ask all the students to write about his views or feelings or opinions or ideas about that particular picture. That picture will give a prompt to the students. So that's called picture prompt, and and all the students will write about it, about the picture. What do they know about it? And don't give any instructions in between. Give enough time and space to the students, and it can be done in a group activity if the students are not willing to write on their own. Okay, individual assignment is not possible, then we can assign some groups. Then the groups, among the group, the students will discuss about the picture and they'll write, and then they can come and present. Any one of the group members will present. Okay, and just give the answer only after all the groups are finished and given their presentations. You can give the correct answer about the picture. Then you can enter into the topic. Okay, so this is called a picture prompt activity, and this can be connected with another activity that is called brainstorming and buzzword. Okay, we are now going to see the other activities also. So before going into this everyday ethical dilemma, I am going to guess this one. Make them guess. This is also something related to this picture prompt. Okay, if you want to introduce a new subject to your students, then you can give a picture that is called picture prompt. Okay, download a picture and show it to the students and ask questions about the picture, and then introduce the topic to the students. And if you don't have any other facility with you, if you don't have time to download the pictures and all, then just ask an intriguing question about that topic. Okay, some questions related to the topic, the new topic that you're going to discuss in the classroom. Then ask the students to guess what is this question, or we can give some anecdotes, or we can give some proverbs related to the new topic, or some famous personality who is connected with the topic. Okay, we can talk about that. Then we ask the students, so now what is our objective in this classroom? What is the topic that we are going to cover? Then the students, they will make a wild guess. Okay, ma'am, are we going to deal with this subject or not? And then they'll ask so many questions and accept all the blind answers from all the students. Okay, don't give the answer, no, wrong, right, don't say anything. Accept the response from all the students, and then you can finally, after getting the response from all the students, then you can give the answer. You can introduce the subject. Okay, then that subject will enter into their minds immediately. Okay, it will arouse the curiosity of the students. Okay, just going to the classroom and just simply say, okay, now we are going to talk about this topic. Then the students will not be interested. Their curiosity will not be aroused at all. So before introducing the topic itself, you have to do something. Okay, so this is called interactive teaching. Okay, so this is make a guess by asking some intriguing questions is another strategy we can say. Then this one, brainstorming. Okay, brainstorming is after introducing the topic, just we can write the topic on the board. Then we can ask the students, okay, what are the things that you already know about this topic, or what is your idea about this topic? Then they will come up with so many ideas about this topic. Then we can write it one by one in the board itself. Okay, or we can ask a student to write all the answers from other students. Then you'll get a lot of new ideas. Actually, we'll have some idea about that particular topic, but after brainstorming, you will be stricken with more ideas from the students, some unexpected new ideas. Even the teacher can learn a lot from this brainstorming technique. Okay, so it can be performed only in groups, not in individual way. Okay, the brainstorming technique can be performed in group sessions to generate creative thoughts and ideas, the new ideas from the students. They will come up with their own ideas. The next one is buzz group, we can say. A buzz group. Because if all the students are in one group, then it's not possible. Because everyone will shout and they will give answers, and it will be full of calamity in our classroom, full of noise, and it will be disturbance to the next by classroom. So if we separate the students in bus groups, some small groups, okay, a group of 3 or 4 or 5, maximum 5, then in groups we can give a simple or single topic to all the groups, or separate topics to all the groups, or one single topic to all the groups. Then we can make them and discuss within them. This is a sort of a group discussion, okay. So this is called bus group, that is group discussion only. And every student, sometimes if you ask any student to come to the front and express their opinion or idea or whatever they know, then they will be hesitating a lot, okay, because all the students are not good orators and they will be shy and they won't speak at all, okay. So we have to give space for all the students to express their ideas and opinions, okay. So that will be, so this sort of bus groups, they will be more helpful for those students who are shy students to come out, because at least they are giving their opinion to their fellow students, their friends or classmates. So they will open their mouth. Okay, they won't open their mouths very directly to the teachers, but they will speak to their friends. So this bus group will help those students to come up with their ideas. And we ask any one of the students representative from that group to express their thoughts, okay, whatever they discussed in the group. So this bus group, brainstorming, picture prompt, these are all can be given in group activities. So these are all possible in our everyday, day-to-day classroom. We don't need any technology at all. Okay. Next, we go to the previous one, everyday ethical dilemmas. Sometimes the teachers, they need not just stick on to the topic that they are covering. Okay, they have to go outside the topic also, because everything, whatever they learn in the classroom from the teachers, it's all going to be of benefit to the students when they are going out in the society, because the ultimate aim of the students is to go into the society and to show their knowledge and earn money, or to act as a good citizen is more important for the student. Okay, if a student says that I am knowledgeable but I won't share my knowledge to anyone, then it won't be of any helpful to the students. And if a student gets first mark, but he is not a responsible social human being, then he is not a perfect student at all. So the duty of the teacher, the responsibility of the teacher is to make the students aware of what's going on in the society, because the environment and the society, the surroundings, they are important for the students. Okay, then only they can become 100% learner. So the students in between, whatever topic they are covering in the classroom, they can present a case study, or they can just give a question to the students related to the topic that they are covering. It's something related to the society. What is the connection between this topic or the point that we are learning in the classroom? Whatever we learn in the classroom, we can associate that. In what way it will be helpful to the society? Or what is the connection between this topic and the society? Okay, the teacher has to make the connection happen in the classroom. The teacher has to make the students understand what's going on in the society. Okay, so we have to connect the topic that we are covering with the society. So the teacher can give or present a case study, okay, which involves an everyday ethical dilemma. Look at the picture, okay, given in this slide. So a student, okay, he is in a confusion whether he has to drop the can, the drinks, okay, then and there itself, in the streets, in a public place, and sometimes the students will keep their dogs urinate in the public place. Okay, this is a symbolic expression. This is just simple things. Mostly we ourselves in the society. Okay, most of the human beings, they are doing this mistake in the society. We are not socially responsible. Okay, if no one looks at you, then you will do something wrong, because you have the confidence that no one is looking at me. This is not the right thing for any human beings. Whether somebody is looking at me or not, it's my responsibility to behave responsibly in private or in public. Okay. A responsible citizen means a responsible citizen everywhere, both at home or in society. So the students, apart from gathering knowledge, okay, they have to be a responsible social human being. So it's the duty of the teacher to make the students responsible, aware of the current scenario, what's happening in our day-to-day life, what's happening in our society, and what is your role in rectifying that mistake in the society. Okay, so in that case, the teacher can give a present or ethical dilemma to the students, and we can ask the students to discuss about that topic. Okay, and we can infuse our subject with current events and problems. so that the students will be aware of what's going on around them. So this is an important point, I think. Apart from all those other points that we are discussing, this is the most important point for me because most of the students, they are graduated, okay, they are getting more and more degrees in their life. They show their knowledge everywhere, they show their talents everywhere. But when coming to on simple responsible behavior in the classroom, then they will say that, no, I'm not responsible for this. I can't do anything in this society because the society is like this. The students are most of the time having the negative opinion of the society. Okay, they are just exposed to all the negativity in the society through the media, through the print media or the social media. They are just exposed to more negative thoughts than the positive thoughts. So the teachers only, they have to make the students think that no, the society is not a negative one. It's a positive one in spite of all those negativity. Okay, we have to come up, we have to face all those negativity and we have to come up with positive solutions. Okay, so we have to make the students think positively. So this is possible through these good discussions in the classroom. Okay, so it's the responsibility of the students, presenting the everyday ethical dilemmas of the students. We have to make the students think about that also. If he is in that situation, then what he is going to do? We have to pose that question to the student and make them think in the classroom. Okay. So next, another important activity is think, pair, and share. So we can pose an open-ended question to the students, and we can pair up your students. It's not a group activity or a bus group. Some 4 or 5 members are not going to be there. Only two students. Okay, just pair up the students. One student with another student. They have to first think on their own. Okay, that is think. First, the teacher has to pose an open-ended question, some question related to the topic. Then the students have to think on their own first. Then the teacher can pair them up. Okay, when they are in a group of two, only 2 members are there in a group, and the students, they can discuss their own thoughts or what they thought. Okay, before the pairing up, and they can share their ideas, and any one of them, they can come up with their answers. Okay, if one of the students is hesitant to open his mouth, then the other student, he can come forward and open. Okay, or otherwise we can say that sometimes the students, they will not come up with their own ideas because they will have a doubt that whether I am right or not. But if they want to share others' opinion, they will immediately come forward. Okay, so in the pair, the students, they have both shared their ideas among themselves, and we can ask one student to come up with the other student's opinions, and the other student will come up with the other student's opinion. So likewise, we can ask them to share their views and conclusions. So this will be a way to come up from their shyness. Okay, because most of the students, they'll be very hesitant to open their mouth. So in this way, we can ask them to come up from their shyness. So this activity will be of more helpful for you in your class. Yeah, peer learning. This is called peer learning. They have learned something from the other student, and they are not going to come up with their answer because they'll be in a doubt whether I'm right or not. If they say this, the other students will laugh at me like this. But if the students, okay, the peer learning activity that we can say, if they learn from their peers, okay, they can express themselves freely from to their peers, that is of the same age group, to their classmates, then they will be easily opening their mouth to the students. And then they can come up with, they can discuss with the students on whether that's right or not. They can discuss with his fellow classmates, and then they can come up with their ideas freely. Okay, so this is another activity. And the last one I want to point out is that ask the winner. Sometimes even this will be helpful for the math teacher or even the English teachers. They'll be more benefited from this, I think. Because the math teacher, we can take, for example, he can give a problem. He can write the problem on the board, and he can ask all the students to do the problem, to solve the problem in their notebook. It's an individual work at that point of time. So all the students, they will try to solve the problem on their own. Okay, they will write it in their notebook. Whether it's right or not, no problem. You just instruct the students. Don't worry about the answer. Just try to solve the problem. Just give the instruction. Then after, give enough space and time to the students. Okay, after all the students say that they have completed, Whether the right answer is right or wrong, no problem. Then ask any one of the students who thinks that his answer is right. Then you can ask the student to come up to the board and solve the problem. Then that student will solve the problem, and if the answer is right, then the teacher will say that whether the answer is right or not to the students publicly, and the teacher can ask the other students, okay, those who got the same answer on the board, they can raise their hand or they can stand up. Okay, then at least half of the students or 90% of the students would have done this problem correctly. Then those students will raise their hands or they would stand up and then ask the other students, that is the students who did it in a wrong way. Okay, those students can ask these students, because the benefit of this exercise is that the teacher need not give explanation to all the students individually. Where is wrong, what is wrong, like that. Okay, here the wrongdoers, that is the wrongdoer in the sense that the students who got the answers wrong, they can ask the other students who is nearby, who is standing, okay, who is giving the right answer, who has already got the right answer. They can ask their doubts. Where did they go wrong? They can ask their doubts to the fellow students. This is also a kind of peer learning only. Okay, they can ask easily, freely to the friends. Okay, instead of coming to the teachers, if you say that if you want any doubts or clarifications, please come to me. If the teacher says, then only some of the students will come to the teachers. But if they ask, if the teacher himself say that just ask the winner, that is who got the right answer, can clarify your doubts to your friends. Then if there is any other doubt, then you can come to me. Then the students will discuss among themselves what is right and what is wrong, and in what step they have gone wrong, like that. Okay, so the peer learning, really it will be more helpful for them to clarify their doubts. Okay, instead of coming to the teachers directly all the time. Okay, if there is a need for the teacher, then we can go for it. Otherwise, they can discuss among themselves, the students among themselves. Then they can come up with their right answers. Okay, so this technique, just give a problem or exercise to the students, then give enough time to solve the problem, then ask any one of the students to solve the problem on the board, then ask the winners to raise hand or stand up, then others, that is the four people who got wrong, they can clarify their doubts with the winners. So this is one of my favorite technique, I can say. Okay, because they will be more, what can I say, they will be enjoying a lot, the students. Actually, these are all some simple things. Okay, I have just pointed out some simple strategies without any technology except that YouTube. Okay, I've given, and most of you might have followed these techniques. But in spite of all those things, I just wanted to point it out these techniques, these some interactive strategies to you, and while applying these interactive strategies in the classroom, and what should be the role of the interactive teacher. Okay, the teacher, the main thing I have already pointed out, there will be some noise created in the classroom while doing these interactive strategies in the classroom. So the teacher has to take the role of a controller. Okay, the teacher as controller is a main thing, because some control should be on the part of the teacher. He cannot give it up everything to the students and discuss and discuss. When the students will be making a lot of noise, then it will be a disturbance to the others, to the next class. No, it's not like that. Okay, so the teacher, in spite of giving freedom to the students to discuss among themselves, the control of the classroom management should be on the part of the teacher. He should be able to control. That is a task for the teacher. Okay, the teacher should be a controller, and he is a director. He takes the form of a director, like cinema director. Okay, because he has to engage the students in a real life situation, because they are in a real life situation. They are not in their imagination, just sitting passively and listening. They are just involved in bringing out their ideas, their feelings, and their opinions. So he has to be the director. Okay, in the sense more or less like a controller. He has to direct all the students. Okay, the noise, yeah, productive noise, yeah, noise can be looked at in a positive way also. Okay, mostly we are having the thought that noise is something negative. It's not welcome by everyone, but it's called a productive noise. But it should be under your control. Okay, it should not be more noisy. Okay, and then you have to act as a manager, because you have to keep students towards goals and engage, because when we are giving a group activity or individual activity, then they are having some goal. They have to think about the topic and they have to write on their own. They have to share their ideas to the fellows. So in this way, the students are kept towards their goals only through this interactive strategy. And the students are actively engaged. Okay, and we can evaluate the students in that time. What is the role of the teacher? He has to look at, observe the students, whether they are just, the teacher has to be monitoring the students. He has to keep on track. He has to check the students whether they are discussing this point, or just they are just spending or chatting irrelevantly in the group. The teacher has to go on, okay, and check the students whether they are doing active work or not. And he has to get the feedback from the students, but at the same time, freedom is given to the students to think on their own. Okay, and the teacher has to be a facilitator. And in between, if the students have any doubts regarding the discussion or regarding the activity, then the teacher has to be a facilitator, giving more clarifications to the students, or giving more instructions to the students, or sometimes repeating the instructions again. Okay, so here the teacher's duty is to be a facilitator to make the process easier for the students. Okay, but because sometimes the students don't know what to do or what to think about that, they don't have any idea about the topic at all. Then the teacher has to stimulate. He has to give some clues or cues to the students. So in that way, the teacher has to be a facilitator. He has to make the process easier for the students to come up on their own ideas. And some of the critical issues that most teachers don't care about that. Okay, or that first thing, classroom management. Most of the teachers are afraid of classroom management, because if you go for these activities and all, then it will make a lot of noise. Then the other colleagues, they might have complained. They might be complaining, what are you doing? Why is so much noise in the classroom? So that the teacher has to take care of that. Okay, you have to know, you have to be a controller. So classroom management, maintaining discipline. And first of all, the thing is that if the teacher is confident, then he can able to control the classroom, maintain discipline in the classroom. If the teacher is not confident about the topic that he is going to discuss, if he is not clear about the topic, if he does not have much idea about the topic, then the classroom will become noisy, because the students won't understand you at all. Okay, so being prepared for the classroom, this is more important on the part of the teacher, so that you can give your points clearly to the students. The students will maintain silence. Otherwise, the classroom will become noisy. Okay, so being prepared for class and providing a comfortable learning environment. Sometimes the teachers, I should be a controller, I should be a strict teacher. They will have the notion in them, and they will be very strict to the students. Okay, you have to be strict to the students while they become unruly. But most of the time, the teacher has to be friendly with the teacher, friendly with the students. They have to provide a comfortable learning environment to the students. The students have to think that he is my teacher. He is talking for my sake. Okay, he is doing everything for my sake. So I have to obey him. So that discipline should be in the mind of the teacher, in the mind of the students. But it will be possible only by the teacher. If he is well prepared, if he is an expert in the subject that he is delivering, then he can control the students. And at the same time, yeah, the teacher has to be empathetic. Okay, the students are sitting a long time passively, okay, only for our sake, and we have to be empathetic of their situation. At the same time, we have to make them active and engaged. Okay, we have to look at on the part of the student side also. We have to understand their feelings, their comfort, everything. Okay, so teacher's role is to provide a comfortable learning environment, and the students' self-esteem. Some of the students are doing this mistake in the name of being strict and disciplined. Okay, most of the time, not most of the time, but only some teachers, I think. Okay, they will tend to use some negative remarks about the students. If the students come out with some wrong answers, or if they try to say something, then the students will say, just keep quiet. I don't want to hear your nonsense. Okay, this is wrong. We cannot say bluntly this is wrong. We just have to say it in a polished way, or we have to encourage, and then we have to say that no, this is not the right thing, but you can come up with some other answers like that. We have to encourage the students to come up come up with their own experience or their own expressions. Otherwise, if we use some negative words to the students, then it will affect the self-esteem of the students. And then they will never come up, they will never open their mouth in your classroom at all. So the students' self-esteem should be respected by the teachers, and the teachers' role is to build their self-esteem. Okay, at any time they should not degrade their self-esteem and the confidence of the teacher. First, the teacher has to be confident of himself. He should love himself. Oh, what am I doing? My appearance is like, I'm not talking about any appearance at all. Okay. So we should not have low esteem of ourselves. First, the teacher should have self-esteem. He should have the confidence. He should love himself and he should be confident of his subject. He should be confident of his knowledge in the subject at the same time the delivering the subject. He should be confident first. Then only the students will also look at you admiringly. Okay. Before going into the classroom, you just have a mind reversal on your own. Just think of delivering, the presenting your thoughts, your ideas on the topic, and just visualize the students are enjoying the classroom. Don't think that or don't have in a dilemma that whether the students are going to act proactively or in a negative way. You just have the confidence that the students are going to enjoy your class. Just visualize that success. Okay, this is a positive thinking. So that is more important because sometimes I can see that most of the teachers they have that low confidence in themselves. Okay, ayo, I don't know, ayo, I'm going to this class, what's going to happen? These students are like this, they behave like this. No, students are our students. They are going to be in my control. I'm going to teach them something and they are going to learn something from me. And I love them and they love me. This is the thing that you have to keep in mind while going into the classroom. So that is called a visualized success. So the teacher's personality. Personality in the sense, not only the physical appearance or the way of dressing. I'm not talking about that. Okay. Well dressed thing is not, it does not depend upon the costly thing or anything else. Okay, the teacher's personality in the sense the way he carries himself, the way he loves himself and he loves others, the way he is confident about himself and he has that confidence in others also. This is a reciprocal approach. The teacher's personality does not belong to him only. Okay, first it comes from within and it has to be transferred to the students. The students take the teachers as a role model. Okay, they have to be get inspired by us. So we have to be the source of inspiration to them and not in a negative way. So the teacher's personality is more important. Inward personality, mental personality, okay, is more important. And another thing, we have talked about a lot of different interactive, simple interactive strategies. But don't try all the strategies or just try one strategy in one classroom. Okay, sometimes we'll go with one plan and sometimes it won't work out, then we have to have another plan. If it doesn't work out, plan A doesn't work out, then you have to go for another plan. So you should have at least two plans in your mind. Okay, and sometimes if one strategy works for you effectively in one classroom, then you need not go on implementing that one strategy in all the classrooms, because one strategy will fit for one classroom but not in another classroom. If it suits well, if it goes well, then you can try in another classroom. But if it doesn't work out there, then you can switch to some other strategy. So don't have only one plan. Okay, there are so many interactive strategies. So you should always at least have two strategies in you while going into the classroom. Okay, so yeah, adapt. We have to adapt ourselves to the needs and expectations of the students. So try different strategies to see if they work for you, and if a technique works for you well in all the situations, then you can go for it. Okay, it's well and good. Okay, no need for then no need to worry about it. And it's just a gentle reminder. Okay, just look at this picture. In this picture there are so many animals. Okay, there is a selection going on, maybe who is the leader of the forest. But look at the judge. He is giving only one test. Actually, this is a meme or a criticism against our present educational system, because we are giving only one test for all the learners, for the slow learners, mediocre learners, and the fast learners. Okay, for almost for everyone, we are giving the same test. This is our current scenario. But I am not giving this picture for that, okay, in order to criticize our current scenario, because that is not our area now. But I am just using or picked up this picture for suggesting One strategy will not work for all the students and all the classrooms. Okay, so look at this. In this picture, the judge is saying that you have to climb up the tree. Whoever climbs up the tree fast, whoever is a winner, will be the leader of the forest. So it will be helpful for the monkey. Just see the monkey. It's just enjoying because it is the easiest test for him. And even for the snake, it will be possible, and even for butterfly, it's okay. But think about lion and the animals and the hippopotamus, okay, the hedgehog. Really, it's impossible for them to climb fast. Okay, so one strategy will not apply for all. So you have to think of different strategies. Okay, and just as it's getting late, we are just move on to the other slides in a fast way. We have to be first, we are in a 21st century classroom, okay, because everything is changed. Our learning environment has changed because the teachers are 20th century teachers and the learners are 21st century learners, okay. And now it has become, the whole scenario has changed. The whole entire the education scenario has changed. Now the teachers and students are all learners. Okay, in the past, the teachers are the people who completed their learning and transferring their learnings to the students. But now it's not like that. The teachers and students are all learners. And the focus is more on questions, less on answers. Okay, now the students are giving more and are asking more and more questions, and the teachers are also in a position to ask more and more questions. In the past, the teachers are giving only answers to the students, but now the teachers are also in the on the point of the students asking questions to the teachers, and the understanding is more important than knowing. Okay, in the past, knowledge is more important. Knowledge in the sense knowing many things, knowing many facts, but now understanding is more important. And innovation and explanation on the part of learning is taking place, and we connect and learn with the world. We cannot be separate from the world. Okay, we are not in a hostel. And the 21st century classroom, how does it become? In this scenario, the teacher facilitates by directing the students to rich learning resources. In the past, only the teacher is the source for the students, but now the teacher is directing the students to go for different learning sources and asking them to demonstrate what they know and are able to do. Okay, and because in the past the teachers are burdened with so many things. He has to be a teacher, he has to be a demonstrator, he has to be an expert in everything. Okay, the students just listen to the teacher, but now not like that. The students' role also has become somewhat. The students' role is also somewhat difficult in this scenario. So, yeah. Okay, so where lies the conflict? The traditional teacher is here. Most of the teachers belong to the 20th century. Okay, but most of the almost all the learners belong to the 21st learners. Okay, so in this scenario, everything has changed. From the old learners, they are experts in using text content, but new learners, they are more interested in visual content. And old learners are so passive, but visual learners, they want everything hands-on. The materials should be given to the students, hands-on materials. Then the old learners are technophobic. They are not interested. They are afraid of phobic. They are afraid of technology. But the new learners are techno savvy. They are experts in using technology. And the old learners, they are more of a sort of independent learners. They don't explore anything in group. They want to learn on their own, and they are independent learners. But the trend is now is that they have become more and more interactive. Whatever they know, they want to share with others through WhatsApp or through other technology. And the old learners are competitive in spirit, but the new learners are interested in collaborative work. They don't want to do everything on their own. They want to do collaborative work. And the old learners learn everything in a sequential order, from the basic to um, the high level. But today's scenario is not like that. The students first they know everything, and then they will go to the basic, the origin of something. Okay, so it's in a non-linear sequence. So there only the time and place. Sometimes we'll see that everything is changed, everything has become technology. What am I going to do in this 21st century virtual classroom? Okay, the teachers are having the fear in them, but not like that. Okay, so only the time and places are changed. Okay, we are now in a virtual classroom, but in the past we are in a real classroom. Only the time and place have changed. Okay, the media has changed. The books or the media in the past, but now the media, that is the technology has become the media, the YouTubes or the WhatsApp or Google Classroom, or there are so many technologies. Okay, they have only changed, but everything is the same. But the thing is that in the past, reading and writing has taken place, but in the present, recording and playing back is present. Okay, but anyhow, in spite of all these differences between the traditional learning and the virtual education, with the real classroom and the virtual classroom, is that only the tools are different, different media and speed. But in spite of all those things, there are so many lot of positive things in the new virtual education scenario, because there are so many activities possible for the students. Okay, this will be helpful for the teachers to give to the students. Interaction is possible through the virtual classroom. Okay, through all these activities, discussions, questionnaires, homework, glossaries, chats, blogs, wikis, everything. The Google is in their hands. The students are able to search everything in the Google. Okay, so these are some of the positive things about the virtual classroom, and the resources and files. Everything is helpful for the students. This is helpful in more interactive teaching to the students. But the negative thing about this virtual classroom, okay, is that it is lifeless without an active interaction. Because in spite of all these technologies, okay, discussions, everything going on through the media, through the technology, the students are in their own world. Okay, there is no collaboration or there is no interchange of ideas between the students. They are just copying, they are just not thinking at all. So the real scenario is that what's happening in this 21st century virtual online classroom is that the real education is not taking place. It's my personal view. Okay, because it becomes lifeless without an active interaction. The students are becoming more and more selfish, and the resources and activities are very important. The technology is helping for us, the teachers, the learners. It's very helpful for us. But in spite of all those things, creating a community is more important. Okay, the community, the society, going out into the society, moving with the other people, interacting with our peers and our colleagues, and with the other fellow human beings in the society is more important than learning. Okay, acquiring knowledge is important, but more important is creating a community. But is it taking place in the virtual classroom? No. Okay, so the role of the 21st century is more and more becoming more and more difficult, because he has to be an adapter. He has to adapt to the learning, to the new environment, to the pandemic situation, to the online classroom, to the 21st century learners, techno savvy learners. We have to be an adapter, and we have to be a best communicator. Communicator in the sense not only oral communication, okay, we not only oral communication, but fluent in using tools and technologies, at the same time answering the questions to the techno savvy students. And so the teacher has to be a lifelong learner. Okay, even in the past he has to be a learner, in the present he has to be a learner, in the future also he has to be a learner. Okay, at any point of time, the teacher should not think that I have learned everything. No, he has to be a lifelong learner. He has to stay current. He has to be updated with our surroundings, everyday news, scenario, everything. So just we are now going to conclude. So in my personal view, after all these interaction among with you about the interactive strategies, and though we are in the 21st century classroom, though we are compelled to do online classroom, online classes to the students. I hope that soon everything will be changed. Though online classroom is somewhat effective, I hope that only the real classroom is more effective, okay, than the online classrooms, because we all, as teachers, we all know that most of the time we are talking in a monologue. Okay, the students are not, they are become very, very passive in the online classroom. Okay, because they have so much freedom. They are misusing their freedom, we can say. They are taking advantage of their situation, and they just mute themselves, and they don't respond at all to the teachers. So this has become the worsening condition of the pandemic effect, we can say. Okay, so does real education takes place in this 21st century online classrooms? Then my answer is that no. Okay, so in spite of going for technology and PowerPoints and other knowledge sharing from the YouTubes, Google, everything to the students, the real education, the purpose of education is not taking place in the virtual classroom. Okay, because in the virtual classroom, even we teachers, we don't know about our students in person because we are in online mode. Okay, even the first year students, we don't know about the first year students. This is the condition. Okay, so do we know each other? This is a pertinent question. Okay, that has to be asked in this 21st century online virtual classroom. Do we know each other? Do we laugh with each other? Do we live at all? Do we live? No, we just existing. We are just existing in the online classroom. Okay, so the real life is taking place only in the real classroom, actual classroom. The physical environment is more important for the students. Okay, in spite of the knowledge sharing in the technology through online, the real education reform takes place, will definitely takes place only in our physical environment. So to sum up, interactivity is the means to a greater gain. It's just a means. It's not the only way. Okay, I'm not going to say that it's the only way to achieve the greater gain, the learning. Okay, but it's a means, it's a way. It will be helpful for the teachers to attain the destination of the participatory learning of the students because it involves the students. It makes the students think on their own. Okay, so it makes the students, it leads the students to a point of reflection on content. Whatever the teacher is teaching in the classroom, the students has to think on it on their own after the classroom or at home or at any point of time. If the students just listen and to just leave the classroom without having any thoughts, without giving some time to think on the topic that is covered in the classroom, then the education is a failure, I can say. Okay, so only the teacher can be successful if only if he makes the students to think on the topic that he have discussed in the classroom. There should be some grain of thought in the students. We have to make the students think. Then only we can be successful teacher. Okay, so this is Socrates' words. Okay, with this I want to conclude this session. Socrates told he is the best teacher. He is an inspiring teacher. Okay, Socrates. But he says that I am not a teacher at all because I cannot teach anybody anything. I can only make them think. So the teacher, most of the teachers, they have the idea that I am teaching. The students are not able to listen at all. The students don't understand at all. They are not interested at all. The students are like this. What can I do? So instead of blabbering like this, or instead of merely complaining like this, we have to make the students learn. So learning means thinking. The students have to think on their own because as teachers, just like Socrates told, we cannot teach anybody anything. We can only make the students think. So make the students think and think. Okay. So this is the success mantra from my side to you to become a best teacher or a best an efficient or inspiring or a role model, whatever you can say, whatever teacher you want to be, okay, you have to make your students think. So make your students think. This is the success mantra I am giving to every one of you by using interactive strategies are just helpful, okay, for the teachers to be with the students always. We have we have not to be away with the students always. We have to be on our we need not have to be on our own track. I'm just doing my duty. Then your duty to take it. It's your responsibility. We cannot just give up our students like this because the parents and the students, they are having their trust, okay, on us, and we have to be on their, we have to fulfill their expectation. So for that, instead of just merely knowledge sharing, we can share our knowledge. At the same time, we have to make our students think on their subjects as well as about the society. That is more important. Okay, so with this I want to thank the opportunity given to me. And I want every one of the teachers who are presenting, who are participating in this webinar, in this session, wish you a very successful, interactive teacher. And apart from that, be a responsible teacher and make your students responsible human beings. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
I'm very, very thankful to Dr. Yamina Devi ma'am because we know more and more information about visual, practical, and lecture methods of teaching. And ma'am's each and every word means a lot throughout the program. And I convey my special thanks to Dr. Yamina Devi ma'am who spent her valuable time and make this session productive. Thank you, ma'am, for your participation and effort. Thanks a lot, ma'am. Thank you. And it's time for feedback. I request any to volunteer from other colleges or from my college to share their opinion about today's program. Please share your feedback, ma'am.
And a request to the participants, and I apologize once again for exceeding the time. And I want you to share some of your opinions because it will be your interaction with me through this feedback will be helpful for me in my future endeavors like this.
Any to volunteer from other college staffs?
You just become our students, okay?
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
Snehga ma'am, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, this is
Yes, ma'am,
Dr.
you're audible.
Mariam, Assistant Professor, NGM College, Pollachi, ma'am. And ma'am, today I wish I think I can speak to guest lecture, ma'am. It was really a thought-provoking session, and it's a need of the hour, ma'am. It was an excellent, wonderful session. And thank you so much for permitting us to participate in this program. And thank you, ma'am. Hearty congrats, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Any other?
Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible, Meena ma'am?
Yeah, you're audible.
This is Dr. G. Priya from Fatima College, Assistant Professor of English, speaking with you. It was a nice session, ma'am, with good examples on how to blend teaching these days amidst this pandemic situation. I thank you for wonderfully explaining each and every concept. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your feedbacks. And it's time to thank all. Now I call upon Mrs. M. Maheshwari, Assistant Professor English, SMS College of Arts and Science, to deliver vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone present here. It gives me an immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks for this event to all assembled here. I would like to thank our chief guest, Mrs. Dr. Yamina Devi, Assistant Professor in VHSN College, who founded this function with his inspirational thoughts. I would like to express our profound gratitude to our principal, Dr. M. Sangreshwari, for his presence in this seminar. I would also like to thank our beloved HOD, Mrs. R. Rajeshwari, for her moral support and guidance. I am happy to express vote of thanks to our staff members who have made this seminar a grand success. Thank you, Anana.
Thank you, ma'am, for your vote of thanks. I'd like to thank all who are all from other colleges and from my college who make this program more beautiful and effective. I think the session is over now. Thank you all and have a nice day. Thank you.
And one more thing, the PPT I'll hand over to the organizers and they will share it with you if you want. You can ask the organizers for the PPT. Thank you so much.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.